my daughter was opening the fridge and there's no food. Then she looked outside and she asked me, Mom, what are we going to eat? Grass.
He was on drugs, he was verbal abuse, physical abuse, and I felt alone. I was always crying throughout my whole pregnancy. My parents said, you got yourself there, you get yourself out.
I took 2 nappies, put one in the pram, the other one walked, and we walked for like 2 hours to a women's refuge. And that was the first turning point. It was at that point I cried for an hour.
And you convince yourself that it's a bit different this time.
Boy, when I looked in the back mirror, I saw my children hugging each other.
It wasn't until I was 27, 28 when I realised I was a problem. Okay, Jen.
Wow, I'm very, very excited, Lynn. Finally, we get to do something together that we love. We've been talking about this for how many years? About 4 or 5 years now, and finally it's here and it's happening.
So we met about 2020. We've always had that energy, that I feel like we're synchronized somehow. And we've always we wanted to do a project. We actually did do a project called the Rise and Shine Show not long ago. You do check that out. But I think it wasn't the right timing, and now I think it is.
Lynn, you know what it is? I think Rise and Shine was when we were bored from lockdown and we were just looking for something to do, and we found each other and some of our friends, and we said, okay, let's just do something for the sake of doing something. So it was good.
Yeah, but I think that's where I think we are so similar in that sense, where if we feel like doing something, we do it.
Yeah.
Right? We just experiment and try. Now this leads me to the first topic for us, which is that day where we decided that's it. We got to go. We got to try something new, even if it's hard.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, obviously our audience are here to listen to our story on how were we able to let go of, you know, one of those scariest time or dark time when we were in that last relationship.
Wow.
And then we decided to leap out and be a single mum.
Oh, my goodness. Every single time. I mean, obviously, as women and as mothers, we have gone through a lot. There's so many points in our life that is a turning point. I call it like a turning point. And I remember, I'm going to talk about my first turning point. I mean, there's so many, and I'm sure along the way we'll discover more. But my first turning point was back many, many years ago. And it was at a point where my daughter was opening the fridge and there's no food. And she opened up the cupboard and there is no food. And then she looked outside and she asked me, Mom, what are we going to eat? Grass. It was at that point that I literally just broke down. As women, it is incredible how tolerant we are with the pain that we endure. Like, we could have so much pain, like every single day we'll just take it on, and we have so much pain. But it just gets to that point where something, and it has to be so severe that something will actually make you break, right? You have to break down first before we actually can get up. And it was when my daughter was like asking me, I was working 7 days a week, and when I stopped working, there was just no money, no food, nothing. And because I was so sick, no money, no food. So my daughter was looking for food everywhere. My 3-year-old was opening, like struggling to open the fridge, struggling to open the cupboard. And when she couldn't find food anywhere, the only thing she could see in the backyard was grass. So she obviously asked, what are we going to eat? Grass. It was at that point I cried for an hour. And because I had no money, so we actually walked to the women's refuge. But when that point, that was my enough is enough. And enough is enough. That's it. No money whatsoever. I took 2 nappies, put one in the pram, the other one walked, and we walked for like 2 hours to a women's refuge. And that was the first turning point. And I think women, we don't realize how powerfully strong we are. And the question I always have for myself later on is, do I need to get to that point to actually have the courage to get up and to do it and to trust myself?
Yeah.
You know?
Because in your case, you were set up in an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
You were not living in Sydney. You were in Perth.
Yeah.
You were away from your family. In a way, it feels as if you were captive. Is that
yes, it was almost like that.
How many years were you stuck in that relationship? And if you had to describe, I guess, the type of abuse you got? Was it more of financial abuse? Was it what kind of relationship were you in, and how long were you in for?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it was like 6 long years. 6 long years. I think because growing up, my parents was very strict as well, Lynn. So I wasn't allowed to go to the library, the clubs, the whatever, the hangout, the movies, whatever it is that you think teenagers do. I don't do any of those things because my parents always saying, you're the eldest one, so your responsibility of being good. And if you're not good, all your brother and sister's going to be ruined, and that's your fault. And so I've always been very self-disciplined. So when I got married, and I wasn't dating or anything, so obviously it was an arranged marriage because I never had a boyfriend, never dated. So even it was in that situation, I went there from being a child at home to a child at someone else's place. So whatever they want me to do, I just do. Work 7 days a week, work 7 days a week. Work 14 hours a day, work 14 hour days. Give me all your money so I can control your money. I just give them all my money, control my money. You probably think that it sounds ridiculous, right? Now looking back, it just sounds so ridiculous. But it was when you're actually transitioning from that space of all you know to another space of the same, you think that that's pretty much normal.
Yeah.
So so that's why. So I mean, and then of course there's a lot of I guess jealousy from sister-in-laws and things like that. So yeah, it wasn't too nice of an experience. So emotionally, I was very, very traumatized.
Do you think it was because you were so easy to control that the person just control and got the power?
Yeah, correct. Because I was willing to be controlled. I gave permission. Because when you don't fight back and when you don't say no, and when they say, oh, why don't you do this? And you say, okay, more than willing, then it's really not anyone's fault, really. It's about boundaries, and I didn't have any at that time. And it's about, so there's a lot of things. I mean, people cannot do anything to us. Let's remember, we're not here to blame other people, whatever. I'm here to actually ask ourselves sometimes when things happen to us, which part of that situation do we own? Do we allow people to do it to us? You know what I mean? I mean, if I was a bit more firmer and more, understand of the world, I mean, because
you were naive.
Yeah, I was
never lived.
Yes,
yeah.
I was never naive.
Yeah.
I was very naive, never lived, very ignorant about life and what's happened in society. All I know is to be a good and kind person and be disciplined and support your family, listen to your elders and, nurture your younger ones, So that's all I know. I live based on those rules.
Yeah. Did you ever thought of leaving before that, or that was pretty much the only day and the day you left and that's it?
That was it. So, when we talk about where is that turning point for you, where is it that point where you say, you know what, I've had enough, and you've actually woken up, we've got to wake up in order to get to that point. And I think a lot of us, I just tolerate for 6 years until my children had no food and was looking to eat grass. That's when I said enough is enough, because I'm not going to allow whatever I can tolerate, I tolerate. But I won't tolerate my children eating grass, basically.
So your husband at the time,
my ex-husband
at the time, was controlling you through depriving you from food and money?
Oh no, it wasn't he was depriving. He didn't care much about the family. It was a time, I still remember, he was interstate working, and because when I was sick in our family, we were working before, we always can take, because we have Asian groceries, so we can take food home and things like that when we're working. But when I stopped working, I couldn't take any food home. And so that's why when my ex-husband was away for 2 weeks, we ate it.
Oh, because you got no access to money, you got no access to food.
Correct.
No one's there to help you.
Yes.
Yep.
So that we end up like that.
Okay. That's really interesting. Okay, so for me, my turning point was many turning points. I was very different to you where so I was with my ex only a total of 2 years, but I would have tried to leave so many times because I know it's not right. Every time I threaten and go, I'm going to leave, but deep down I still kind of want to stay, I still love him. I still want to
What is it about him that makes you feel like you want to stay?
Overall, I feel like at the time, because I was a broken girl, I came from a family of lack of love, that I was seeking love from wrong places, from guys who are bad, rough, treat me mean, which makes me keen. And basically, in a way, I was hoping to change them. And so the multiple guys I dated, not just him, were bad boys on drugs. You know, they gave me that sense of freedom because they were so rebellious. And I came from a family also just too controlling, sheltered. You know, they made me work from a young age. And so I ran away from home, don't know any better. But then I thought my better was freedom, was just dating someone that said, let's run away, let's do this. And I thought it was wild, I thought it was cool. And then when you get into a relationship, they prioritize drugs over you or going out without you. And then having a kid with you, but then never became a father, was just leaving you. You threaten them and you're like, if you do this again, I'm going to leave. And then I promise. It's actually one of the hardest type of relationship to leave because they would promise you, oh, I love you, you are the only person I love, you know, and I will change for you. And then you believe it, you know, and then you tell yourself next time.
You want to believe it because you're hopeful.
You're hopeful, and then next time it's a different kind of promise, and you convince yourself that it's a bit different this time. And so it's actually a lot more toxic and more like, okay, gotta go. So I try to leave lots of times, and then I think my parents also got fed up because there was one time where I said, Mum, okay, I want to go home. And then I think I was pregnant at the time actually, and then they're like, okay, come home. They thought I was going to leave him. But then after I came home, I started missing him and I wanted to go back, and then they just got so pissed off that they're like, that's it, you know, get out. And then when I had a kid and he still was abusive, so in my case it was, he was on drugs, he was verbal abuse, physical abuse, and I felt alone. I was always crying throughout my whole pregnancy, the whole being with him, I was alone. And then, but then when I decided I wanted to leave him again and I wanted to go home, this time my parents said, no, like, I'm not taking you back. Like, who do you think we are, you know? Like, you can't just come in and go. You got yourself there, you get yourself out. And so, you know, I knew that I had to kind of look after myself, and I only have myself, not my family. But the last time that I would say I left him was I was 21. It was nearly my birthday, and I did remember kind of saying that next time you do this again, which is being off your face on drugs, it's quite dangerous actually, like him crashing a car, him hurting me and not knowing what he's doing. He could also hurt the kid as well. And then, I don't know, this final time I actually packed my things and left. But I wouldn't say I left for good. There was still some months of lingering on because you still miss them and you still kind of thing. But it was the last time of me leaving the same house. They're like not living there anymore and then going for good, because I guess I've just forgiven in so many times enough, and then eventually it's enough. Yeah. And so I kind of understand why some women, they're in a long relationship and they just can't leave because I've been there.
Yeah, I think as women our heart is so big, but I think when you're mentioning, you know, pregnancy and coming towards giving birth, and you're thinking, you know, maybe he could hurt the kid, that actually maybe is the decision that kept you away from him. Because as mothers, it was the same for me, because I tolerate, like I can put up with so much pain. But when my daughter turned around and asked, are we going to eat grass, I just broke down. And I think for you it was just at the moment that if he is abusive and if my child is around, he could abuse my child. Yeah. And I think that was a thing that made you never come back.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced multiple times of threat and danger, but I still didn't go. But looking at that time, when you're in it, you feel like life is so dramatic and it feels so long. But now that I'm 42, I look back and I'm like, oh, I was actually only with him for about 2 years. But that 2 year felt so long.
Because it was so painful then.
But I'm still proud that it was just 2 years. Whereas, you know, in your case, it's 6 years or more, and there's other people that are in long-term relationship. Yeah. And it kind of gets harder because you look at but I've been with that person for that long. I don't want to waste that time, you know?
Oh, my goodness.
So one thing I am proud of myself is that when I see there's a problem, I do something about it. I might not know how to leave straight away, but when I do, I'm done.
Yeah. But I find that with how knowing you, Lynn, just your commitment to, once you made a decision, just your commitment to follow through on that condition, that decision is like fully focused and the 100% committed to keep moving. And even though you might not know exactly how it's going to look or how you're going to get there, but if you say, you know what, I'm going to do this, you just jump right in and do it. That's one of the most that's one of the things that I most admire about you, is the fact that you have that ability to commit and that believe in yourself, because I think a lot of women struggle to believe in themselves.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good point, because at 21, it wasn't, you know how some women, they don't want to leave because they're like, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to pay for things? What is my life going to look like? I don't think I was worried about any of that, other than, oh my God, I still want to be with this person. How do I, how does it change for me? Like, it's more like fear of letting go of this relationship, of what a waste, or not that I was fearful of what my life would be. How about yourself? Was that different?
Yeah, I don't think I was, because you were in such even though he wasn't great and he didn't cherish you like he should, you still love him so much, and that was your thought process. My thought process was slightly different. My thought process was more like the other one that you mentioned. Oh my goodness, now that I am leaving, I don't want my children to grow up and endure what I endure, so I'm going to take my children out of this environment and leave. And once I left, then I had to think about, oh my goodness, how do I take care of my children now? Hence, we just went to the women's refuge. And then, just coming back.
Did you go there because you didn't have family and that was kind of your only safe home at the time?
If
you had your parents there, then you would have gone to your parents. Yeah.
If I had my parents, I would have gone to my parents.
Yeah.
Very lucky for those who still have parents. But because I was in Perth and my parents were in Sydney, so I didn't have any money. So how do I get to Sydney? I can't. The only thing I can do was, I got 2 legs, and my eldest one has 2 legs. The other one is too young to even walk. So I take 2 nappies and put her in the pram, and then take the other one. So, we just walked to the women's refuge, because that is the only place
You didn't have a car?
I didn't have a car. I didn't have friends, because I was working 7 days a week. What friends? You don't have friends. You don't have anyone. So the only thing I can think of was the women's refuge. And I don't even know how I know about the women's refuge at that time. Like, I just don't, even now, that whole period of my life has wiped out from my memories. I can't even remember that time in my life. That's how terrible it is.
And then you mentioned to me there was a period where you were suicidal and you wanted to drive off a cliff. Was that after you left him or before you left him?
That was after. Some of the suicidal attempts were when I was still in that relationship, because let's remember, divorce wasn't a thing, because that would be shameful to the family. And I remember waking up every day thinking, oh my God, what am I still awake for?
Did your parents know anything at all?
No, because at that time I didn't want to tell my parents anything, because what can they do? And they're so far away, and I just didn't want to hurt them, And after about a couple of times, and after I left and returned to Sydney, the last attempt, after 3 attempts, and then I couldn't die and even I tried different places, and I don't know how I guess I'm not meant to die. I don't know how, I locked myself, I drove somewhere, they still managed to find me and bring me to the hospital for stomach pumps. So the last attempt that I did, but didn't even go into an attempt, was when I moved to Sydney already, and then my dad was like, he still wants me to get back with my ex-husband, who was very abusive. And I just couldn't live with it, and I couldn't leave my children behind with it. So, oh my goodness, I did this horrible thing. Until today, I still feel so horrible. I put my children in the back of the car. And then we said goodbye to each other. And I was going to drive off the cliff with them in it. Because I didn't want to leave them behind with no one protecting them, and they were so traumatized. They held each other's hands and started crying, and then they were hugging each other in the back of the car. So, when you're not well, you can do so many not wealthy.
Yeah. And this is when you've already left.
Yeah, but we like
you still-
left, but my family kind of thought, you know what, if you divorce, you'll bring shame to the
Yeah.
family. You know, you cannot divorce. Our family is so great. I mean, you know, and so I couldn't leave, and every day was just worse and worse, and I couldn't leave my children behind. But when I saw my children cried and whatever, I didn't
Change your mind.
Yes, I
Yeah.
changed my mind. It was at
Yeah.
that point when I looked in the back mirror.
It was,
And I-
there's just fear, I guess.
I saw my children hug each other.
Yeah.
To this day, I can't forget that image. But you know, it took me a long time for me to forgive myself.
Yeah.
Because you know, when you're mentally ill and you're on, you know, 20 tablets a day, you're not your best self.
Yeah,
Let's put it
you're
this
not
way.
thinking straight. I mean, I too was going through suicidal thoughts. I don't know whether it's postnatal depression or whatever they call it because you just gave birth, but I legitimately do feel that I had real reasons to be upset about when you feel like your family isn't going to be there for you. There's no one there for you, and you're still so in love with this person that you want to make it right, but then they're just not changing for you. There's no other way out. You kind of feel like you just want an easy way out.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't stop thinking about just like walking in front of a car or, you know, thinking of different ways to hurt myself.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't do it because I now have a son, you know,
Yeah.
like I think even the first suicidal thought was pregnancy, then even after pregnancy, like it was just coming and going. But this is such a good point to say is that when we break up,
Yep.
it's such a big ordeal. Like it doesn't just break up. It's like we suffer for so long. The
We do.
relationship continues to linger on, all the pain, and it takes a long time. What actually happened? I mean, we're gonna have to dig deeper in the next episode about some of the next journey for us. But overall, what got you through?
I think just looking at my children, you know, because for me, when you have absolutely nothing and your children is in front of you, the only thing you can think about are your children, you know. And you say, whatever I do for them. You keep fighting, even though it's uncomfortable or whatever.
Yeah. I think looking back to, I felt like I didn't want to fail. You know, I remember when my parents said, why are you choosing this guy? He's not good for you. And deep down, it was like, you don't know him. I know him better. And I think he's going to change for me. And then when you realize that, no, this is not the right person. He's not going to change for you. I accepted that that's it. Like, okay, I failed. In a way, it's more like I had pride. I was embarrassed that they were right and I was wrong. But when I decided that, okay, well, I failed at this, I promise to never fail again.
Yeah.
And so when throughout the whole time of me being in bad relationship, leaving him, I still got myself through uni. I still made sure that I, graduated. And I think from then on, I have not failed in that sense. What I mean is I didn't want people to say, you're a single mum now, you're going to go on Centrelink and you're going to, just expect government support because you're nobody now. You don't go to school, you don't have a job, and in a way you're a low life. And that's what I was fearful of. And so I made sure that I promised myself that I'm not going to be that. And I think that was kind of my goal and my mission to not fail again.
It's so funny how you were running away from being a low life, all this negative thing, whereas I was running towards something. So I was running towards more like, okay, I look at my kids and I imagine what my children would be like, what am I going to do to support my children and the life I'm going to have ahead. So I'm running towards something. I'm running towards like a better future, a better partner. I at least now know. And at this point, it was really interesting that you said that because I was like at this point, after I got divorced, from now on I choose. I'm not going to be the one that's being chosen anymore. Because before I was in an arranged marriage and someone had chosen me, I was like, nah, no more. I choose. From now on, I choose. And that was at that point where I kind of go, I choose to this, I choose to that, and I choose to run forward to whatever it is I was choosing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about, yeah, now I'm going to be on Central League. I didn't even think about all those things. Isn't that strange?
Yeah. What were some of the right choices you made that got you to where you are now then?
Okay. I think some of the right choices, the first one is your life partner. When you actually pick the right life partner.
So you chose the next right guy.
Correct. I chose the next right guy. And because that person is so important in your life, and they're such a huge part of your life because, you're always doing things together. They influence your thought. If you pick somebody, that life partner is the one that's going to influence your thought, influence your perspective, influences your life experience, influence your choices in life, and also your goals. So when I met he was that person, and it's funny because
So this is a guy that is established, ambitious, wealthy, smart. He's got the package that will now be able to take care of you in a sense. So you're a smart girl. You woke up and you learned a lesson.
Yes, I was like, no, I'm not choosing any whatever. I'm going to choose someone. And I actually did write like a list of what I was looking for. I was actually writing down, okay, I remember one night.
Did you learn it from somewhere?
It's funny because I didn't. I did later on, after I heard from Tony Robbins and he talks about the thing, I thought, oh my God, that's what I did before without realizing I was doing it. So I was writing down because I was writing a wish list, because when I was saying, no more being chosen, I'm going to choose, and if I'm going to choose, I have to know what I'm going to choose. So I decided to do the wish list. This is what I'm going to wish for, and I didn't know about goal setting at the time, so I called it the wish list. And this is what I wish for my children. I wish for this, I wish for that. And when I had a bit where I was wishing for the guy, I actually wrote down all those stuff, and then he turns up, and I thought,
how long later did you manage to find love again?
I think I did. It's interesting. I did a wish list, and then I met this one person. I actually met first. I did a wish list, and I at that time I was learning dancing. It was so difficult to find dance partner. My wish list, the first thing was, he can dance good. That was the thing. He can dance good, or he can dance well. I can't remember. And then he has to be tall. He has to be this, right? So I did a brief, just very brief, like 6 lines, 6 things. Yes, he turned up that 6 things. And I was with him for 2 years, where he taught me confidence. But it's interesting because when you do a wish list or manifestation, or whatever you want to call it, it happens pretty quickly, very, very quickly, within a few months, And
so
then,
overall, you managed to find better people, basically. One person could really dance and didn't treat you wrong, and then you end up meeting your next partner, which was ambitious, successful, and everything else. You made all the right choices. And then in terms of your own self, you got into beauty, career, what did you do with your own?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first came back, before I went back to uni again, I went to do a beauty course, because I thought, you know what, let's do something 1 year so I can ease myself into studying again, prep myself, And after I was finished my beauty therapy, I was doing teaching for a while, and then moved into the laser therapy. So it was good and fun. But I think we grow, and whatever that, I find that whoever that turns up in our life is what we can absorb at the time. And once we've grown up from that person maybe will be no longer a significant part of your life, and then you move on. And I think that's how people evolve. But if you're blessed enough to be in one of those loving relationships where we can grow together, then that's absolutely a true blessing, because not many people will have that. You know what?
So ultimately,
what about you?
you ended up having a career and you got a partner.
Yeah.
What's interesting about both of us then is that we didn't get scared of men. You know how some people leave a relationship and they're like, I'm done with men, I don't want to know about them anymore, and they could actually be single for a long time, decades, right? Yeah. Whereas I too went straight into a relationship. However, I didn't learn my lesson. I went from worst to worst to worst. So I basically have not understood myself, didn't realize that I was a broken girl. I had a lot of lack of self-love, that I was just looking for love in the wrong places. So after my ex, I went out with another guy that was partying, introduced me to drugs, partying. Then I dated another guy that's linked to the bikie clubs, and I just went worse to worse to worse.
Lynn, but it's so colourful. Not everybody gets to experience those things. I didn't experience any of those things.
I mean, looking back, yes, it was fun, right? But it was a dangerous life. It was more abuse. And I didn't learn my lesson for the next 6 more years with multiple different men. You know, we chose different paths, and it took me a long time to learn the lesson. And you know, that's the thing about God or the universe. If you don't learn a lesson, you're going to keep getting that lesson.
Correct.
And it wasn't until I was 27, 28, something like that, when I realized, oh my God, I was a problem. I don't even know what I want. I've never sat down and decided what I want, nor did I really intentionally work on myself. I was constantly reacting to life, like partying, drinking, just to get away from everything. And then in that year when I started to work on myself, discovered Tony Robbins, discovered Oprah, all that stuff. And then knowing what I want, I did end up manifesting really quickly. In that year, my husband came along, and we've been married now for 14 years. But see how interesting that what I've got from it is that we won't shy away from another relationship because we knew that with the right person, our life could thrive. Not that we were needing to use anybody, but we just weren't deterred from love. I just took longer. You were quicker into getting the right person. But that whole time we were also focusing on our own career path, our own ambition too. We didn't just sit around going, okay, who am I going to find? And, you know.
Of course, I think the both of us, what we had in common was we just kept moving and we never stopped. That's the one thing we have in common. The thing that was different about us was exactly the reason why when I first heard you on a
podcast, in a sense, in live Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. To date, you are the only person that I've ever reached out to because you've answered on that thing. You've answered the question I've asked all my life. I have one question I always ask all my life because from my childhood, I've always been programmed to be good, do good, always do the right thing, you know, never do anything like left field, anything like that. So every single time if I'm at a T-junction, I would always turn right. And you, on the other hand, when I heard, and all my life, this is what I'm wondering. All my life, I keep asking myself, Jennifer, what happened if I said, Jennifer, what happened if you turn left?
You rebel, basically.
Yes. Yeah. What would have happened if you turn left? Do something that is not right. Do something that
more
is
selfish about what you need.
That isn't the right. That isn't what you're programmed to do.
Yeah.
But I never had the courage to till today. I have never had the courage to go and do something like strange
naughty
things. Like even when I was at school and the kids were talking about shoplifting or whatever, I was horrified. Like I couldn't think of anything worse. And you know, but when I met you, it was so incredible. It was like you answer that question for me because all your life you turned left.
Yes.
You just turned left. You did what you wanted, rebel, whatever you say. If somebody says, Lynn, you can't do that, you just go and did it and show it to your face. I just like at that time when you were saying all those things, I lie in my bed. I literally was paralyzed because the answer came to me. You know, you brought God, universe, whatever, answer that question for me. It's a question that I've asked all my life since I was 18.
Yeah, and that is why we're here, because we both had problems at home. We both end up being in a bad relationship. We both had kids. We had different personality in a sense that I was more rebellious, always going the left. You were going on the right. But even though you were doing the right thing, you weren't given the right solutions, or you still were facing challenges in life. And then along the way, somehow we learnt our lesson and we crossed paths again and we discovered the same lessons in life. And then that is why we're here, because we realised that no matter what path you take, if you just take the right path, eventually you'll meet at the same place. And we also ended up discovering the same mission. It was like, how can we help other people?
Yeah.
How do we bring our story, our mess, and turn it into a message to help others? So as we wrap up this first episode about our turning point, because in the next few episodes, we're going to go deeper. We're going to talk about relationship. We're going to talk about the naughty stuff, the good stuff, everything else in between. And of course, we want the audience to also ask us any questions. Now that you've heard an overview of, you know, our overview story, if there's any questions, they could also ask us.
Feel free to ask.
But if you were to give, I guess, the top 2 or 3 advice to your younger self, that person that was struggling, you know, thinking about, oh my God, what is my life going to be moving forward? What would you say?
Before I answer that question, I just wanted to quickly share one last thing. I think, Lynn, the reason why we do things, we exist in the same space so effortlessly and found each other and love each other, is because we share, even though we make very different decisions in life, and giving us different experiences, but we share the same similar values and our attitudes are very similar. And I think those two things drive us together, and that's how we find each other.
It's like they say we're vibrating in the same frequency.
Same frequency, yeah. Our different decisions just give us different life experience. That's
and
all.
our ages are very different.
I know. And which is really, really strange, So
I'm 42 this year, you're 56.
Yeah, getting on, getting very, very on.
But we still, it's not about the age, but it's our experiences and our values. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
But in answering your question, what would I say to my younger self? What I would say to my younger self is there will be good days and then there will be bad days ahead, right? There isn't any right day or wrong day because every day is meant to be. The lessons will be unraveled through those days, whether they're good or bad. So cherish the good moments, enjoy it, celebrate, and learn to manage the bad days. That's what I would say to myself. And just be strong, have courage, and live your life purpose. And nobody needs to understand what your life purpose is, but as long as you do, and you hang on to your life purpose, then you'll get there. Yeah. And the right people, the universe will send the right people to you, and you'll grow, and then they'll send more right people to you.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I think for me, it's I wish I told myself earlier on, the earlier the better, to love myself, because when I come from a broken place, it makes me do wrong things. I wasn't an angel either, and I think if I just learned to love myself, if anything, I wish I discovered God earlier, because we're told that God loves us, and it's like I didn't feel loved from anywhere, not from my own parents. So because of that, I didn't love myself. And so love yourself, and then take every lesson as a learning experience in life. And like, in a way, yes, I was going through challenges, but I wish I embraced it more. I was kind of really angry and I was blaming everything. And I wish I approached it in a way where it's like, okay, what is the lesson in this? Obviously, I'm more mature now, I can say that, but I wish I was like, what is the lesson in this? And take time to reflect more rather than just reacting and go, what's next? All right, what do I do? Just run around. And I never really asked the right people for advice. I would go around talking to friends, get to hear whatever I want to know, whatever I want to hear. When you're young, you're just really gossiping and you're really just like, I don't know, I should date this person. And then it's not productive. And I wish I would tell myself to go, who has the result that you want, and learn from them. And this is why we wanted to do a podcast like this, because we want other women to learn from people that have done it, people like us who have gone through and have done it. And so I wish I was smarter. I was so arrogant back then. I thought I knew everything. Obviously, I was so young. But I think that's a good wrap up to our first episode.
I think, very good, Lynn. I think assertive. I think all women need to be, like, I love what you say about loving ourselves. I think most women, we don't love ourselves enough. So that's I think all women should focus self-care, self-love. But just to be a little bit more assertive when it comes to everything in life.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jen. It was
my God.
really good
Thanks,
first episode. But if you really enjoy, this episode, please like and subscribe and contact us and share with us any questions that you have. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we would love to hear what they want us to discuss as well, because some people want to discuss certain things, so we would love to hear what you want us to discuss, and we look forward to discussing those things with you.
Yeah. Bye.